Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. Got a little bit of a different thing for you. We'll be coming back to you soon, Grombrindle. Grombrindle, that's a grudging right there, Thorgrim. But today, I thought I would give my opinion on my top five beginner-ish and my personal favorite, friendly legendary lords and campaigns here in Warhammer 3. So again, take this advice and playstyle with a grain of salt. And just remember, this is all one dude's opinion. But yeah, let's talk about it. So starting off with number five was going to be Balthazar Gelt for me. Okay, so the Empire's always had a soft spot in my heart ever since I started playing a long time ago. You know, it was one of the first races. Well, it was one of the first races to be in the game. And let's see if I can turn that sound down just a little bit. Sound. There we go. Okay, back to campaign. New. Yeah, so Balthazar Gelt. You know, I've just always liked metal wizards in general when it comes to this game. I believe there is some utility to a few of the different kind of wizards. I believe metal wizards are one of them, and life wizards have always been a favorite for me in this game because they're tier 1 right when they've been recruited. Searing Doom, you know, that's because most times I'm using these guys, it's like a panic buy when there's like an army about to siege a settlement, and I'm looking for something that could actually turn the tide, be it like through clever corner camping or cheating or, well, cheesy tactics. And the Searing Doom with the Metal Wizards and the I forget the name of the first tier of the Life Wizard spell, Awakening of the Woods. Those have always felt the most clean and the most utility focused. Later on, Balthazar Gelt gets a lot of support for his metal casting abilities and you know, artillery and heavy metal in his unit. So personally, love Legendary Lord. The faction itself and the Empire, you know, it is the jack of all trades factions when it comes to Warhammer. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it to beginners because, you know, it's master, jack of all trades, master of none. But the variety is where it finds its strength. You know, the colleges of magic, they have access to, I don't know, 75% of all magics in the game. You know, if played correctly, they do have access to a pretty okay-ish infantry line, skirmishers, and cavalry, and all around they can pretty much fit whatever play style that you want. The reason I wouldn't recommend this any higher is because, you know, for a new player and for somebody who's just getting into the game, it it's a little bit too much to take in all at once, but I believe it can still be a friendly campaign, and over time you will learn to use the Empire's, you know, strengths to form a cohesive unit. But yeah, welcome to Astalia, gentlemen. So yeah, the Empire is going to be coming in at number five for me. All right, so number four is going to be the Vampire Counts, and specifically Vlad von Karstein. I bet y'all saw this coming because I did it, you know, at least two episodes of the campaign before the save got corrupted. Vlad is just a gosh darn, you know, powerhouse when it comes to dueling. I remember some of my previous dwarf campaigns where I was sieging a town Vlad was in, and I literally killed his whole army. It was just Vlad, and I had like an untouched dwarf army. And I guess he had like an unbreakable perk on or something like that. And literally, Vlad by himself single-handedly almost took down my entire army. The man is a beast with his regeneration, his Von Karstein ring, Blood Drinker, I believe is the name of his sword. If you are worried about a lord going down in combat, you will not have to worry with Vlad. So he has always been very enjoyable, and I've always liked the Vanguard deployment. It makes for a little bit easier shenanigans with the relatively slower vampire count troops. And overall, the vampire counts, in my opinion, have an easy-ish gameplay when it comes to most of their units. 9 times out of 10, tar pit them down with the skeletons, the zombies. Keep your tar pit alive with Invocation of Nehek, and any big hitters, flyers, etc. You send around the back, and boom, you got your hammer and anvil. And you could do even cheesier stuff with Wind of Death, as I'm sure a lot of you know. But what I found troubling personally with the vampire counts is the correct use and placement of monsters that they have, because they have a very large monster roster. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Vargeist and the Vargulf. I've never been able to get them to work as well as I feel they should. Same with the Crypt Horrors. Maybe it's just me not using them in the correct, methodology of how they're intended, but to a new player, it might be a little challenge figuring out how to properly implement them into an army. But overall, I think the game plan's kind of simple. Just go wide with your chaff, summon skeletons in the archer line, and have a grand old time. The fear and terror aspect that most undead give will also make it a pretty potent foe. You combine it with Doom and Darkness and some other leadership killing abilities, and against the Empire, who is not renowned for their leadership unless you're fighting an army of flagellants or flagellants. Yeah, you should be chilling. So Vlad von Karstein, pretty dang cool campaign. All right. Next, we are going on at number 3 to Grand Cathay, one of the newcomers. Honestly, this is probably the first one I'd say I'd really recommend that beginners to the game try. It's This is my personal opinion, but I like slower paced engagements. Not necessarily slow engagements, but engagements where I can think tactically and organize myself, and it's not like a click fest to see who wins the game. I expressed that in my last dwarf video. I think I'm very much a fan of the old meat grindery. It takes a little while for battles to be over. Rome 2, a huge fan of Rome 2 settlement battles. And I think the Discount Chinese Grand Cathay kind of gives that to you. Along with the Empire and the Dwarves, they are one of the best factions when it comes to artillery, in my opinion. Their fire rain rockets make just sitting back and letting the enemy come to you. That's honestly what I like in a faction. If you have the ability to sit back and force the enemy to come to you, set up your defensive positions, and excuse me, watch your tactical brilliance, quote unquote, unfold in front of you. I think that's very easy for new players to understand in the game, and to make the experience a little less stressful. So you're not focusing on microing 50 different units at once. You could sit back, watch the big explosions from the fire rain rockets and the sky junks, and have a pretty good time. Another reason why I like Grand Cathay a lot is it feels one of those factions where I can empire build a little bit better than in any other faction. I mean, of course, some factions certainly have their limitations. Like, you're not going to find the wood elves outside of the magical forests as much. You're not going to find. Well, I mean, I guess you can find any faction anywhere, but I haven't found words. What are they? A as easy experience of building and maintaining a large empire as I have with Cathay. Specifically Miao Ying, I haven't played what's his name, Zhao Ming, yet, so maybe that's a different experience. But up towards the Great Bastion, of course, you're dealing with the Great Bastion threats, so that's a little bit stressful. And believe me, if you let it go wild, it will get you pretty good. So keep an eye on that Great Bastion if you're playing Miao Ying. But once once you get yourself relatively set up, get rid of that first Tzeentchian faction within your borders, you're in a pretty safe position to get your feet under you and slowly start pushing out. I mean, Village, he is in the area, but he also is a pretty easy foe to take down if you know your strengths and weaknesses of Cathay. And yeah, you have a lot of easy confederations. And the really only other threats are savage orc tribes and there are the Dissenter Lords, but that shouldn't be too bad for you. It's Cathay on Cathay, and you start with the frickin' Fire Rain rocket junk. So dealing with the Dissenter Lords should be easy. So the only really main threats are a Savage Orc tribe and you know, gosh, what's the Dark Elf pirate? Is it Malakir? Ah, jeez. Let me see. Dark Elf, Dark Elf, Dark Elf. Lokir, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So once the Dissenter Lords and a village are dealt with, then Cathay is a pretty solid, pretty simple campaign. It's a very defensive play style and very missile heavy, especially from Yao Yang. I mean, it's Center of the Lord effects, but I like it a lot. And the harmony bonuses for your economy and for your army can really pay off if you design your empire in a specific way. So highly recommend checking out Cathay if you haven't given them a shot yet. All right, so moving on to number 2. This is just a little bit of a personal favorite of mine. We are going for Valkia the Bloody. I mean, come on. Blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. What could be more fun? Um, to some extent, I really like what they've done with the Warriors of Chaos in their last DLC. Going from solely a nomadic faction to having like these bases of power with the Dark Fortress, but you still have the freedom to move around the map to some extent that you had when you were a nomadic faction. So I really do appreciate that in the Warriors of Chaos. Like I played Festus, Sigvald, and a little bit of Village, and I've enjoyed them all. Personally, I've enjoyed the Warriors of Chaos play system. So now more than ever, I think it's a very fun time to step into the Warriors of Chaos if you haven't already. Specifically, why Valkyrie the Bloody after all of them? I mean, come on now. It is probably one of the most simple game plans you could ask for. Very beginner friendly. You get the big buff dudes with 2 axes and you throw them at the enemy. And you lop some heads off, rinse, repeat. And, if my Magic the Gathering content has, told you anything, I'm somewhat biased when it comes to angel-esque figures, obviously. And there's no angel here, but, I'm somewhat of a fan. So, starting off in, like, the northwest of the map, you're in a pretty easy position to, claim most of the dark fortresses, destroy the dark elves if you want to go to work. You have a lot of different options, but you're also in a pretty safe place to get your feet under you. And you start with a vassal. That's always nice. So yeah, I think it's a very safe campaign for newbies to try, and it's a very simple game plan. Gotta just collect the skulls, keep it rolling. That was pretty bad. All right, and now my favorite faction, this should be a surprise to no one, is the dwarves. So, this is going to be a little bit of an interesting dichotomy here. Obviously, you'd think I'd recommend Thorgrim, because I'm playing the Thorgrim campaign right now. But, if you want something funny first and foremost, a very funny, simple game plan, it's actually got to be Ungrim. His ability, Journey's End, I found with a 19 Slayer Doomstack, is absolutely hilarious. You don't have to think. You don't have to worry about tactics when it comes to operating the Slayer army. It is just simple. Similar to Valkyria. Throw them at the enemy. Forget. 9 times out of 10, they will win. And it is very funny. So I definitely recommend trying out Ungrim if you get the chance. But yeah, back to the dwarves in general. Like I've repeated now, it's one of the reasons why I like Cathay. It's another reason why I like the Empire. Artillery, stout infantry lines, and room to maneuver. Granted, the dwarves don't have the best room to maneuver because, lacking of any speedy units, Slayers are their speedy units. But maneuverability is one of the aspects of an army that I can sacrifice for the other two. So I am just a fan of the dwarves' ability to be able to, if you prepare right, set up a defensive position, force the enemy to come to me, and just hold and grind away while dwarvish ranged power pretty much does the rest of the work. Corlers, are beasts. Nine times out of ten with other Total Wars out there, your range units are, they're glass cannons. They're pretty powerful. They're some of the main killing power of your army. But, if they get caught out, they're pretty much done for. Not so with the dwarves. I like that because I have to care a little bit less about my ranged units getting flanked. Granted, I still will, and I will actively protect them because I want them firing. But Corlers definitely can hold their own in a fight, and when they're not fighting in melee, they reap a heavy tally when it comes to dealing with the enemy. Great range, great all-around units, and even the baseline dwarf warriors, can hold the line pretty dang good. Don't even get me started when we get up to Iron Breakers. I know I've made it in the Dwarvish campaign when I have that front line of Iron Breakers, two flame cannons in the back, a good amount of archers out of Corlers. It is the best experience. Granted, you would probably say, you complimented Cathay for your favorite for empire building. The dwarves do it very well too. I mean, I will say the dwarvish economy and the tool makers guilds, I absolutely adore. It makes for a very fun overworld experience to manage. But stereotypically, I do a little bit of role playing with the dwarves just because I like them. I don't know how many of you remember back to Warhammer 1 when you could only occupy, racial settlements, so the dwarves could only really occupy the mountains and the Badlands, and that was it. Obviously, that's no longer with us, and I'm very glad it's no longer with us. But I kind of role play a little bit with it that I'll only stick to the mountains and the place the dwarves should be. So sure, I could empire build with Cathay with the rest of them. I mean, the dwarven garrisons are great for defending settlements far flung all over the place. But personal choices are personal choices. But yeah, a solid infantry line, skirmishers that can fight for themselves. I love flame cannons to death. Obviously, we got the Chaos Dwarves coming, and the dwarves have been in the news recently for badly needing an update. But irregardless of where they are on the you should or shouldn't play them, they're not powerful or powerful ranking. They will always hold a first place in my heart because good God, I just love fantasy dwarves. From Gimli all the way to Gotrek and Felix, they have always held a special place in my heart when it comes to fantasy settings. And 9 times out of 10, when given the opportunity, I will sympathize with a dwarvish faction. So maybe Cole Valkia my number one pick, and this is just my personal pick. But either way, I think the dwarves are definitely number one on the list for new players to learn and understand the game. So yeah, that's going to be it. Remember at the end of the day, this is just one man's humble opinion. Drop any factions that you enjoyed down in the comments and tell me why. Leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.